Delhi section, IETE Delhi Center welcomes you all to this webinar on digital transformation, next generation factories. Warren Buffett, chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, had said that digital transformation is a fundamental reality for businesses today. The fourth industrial revolution, or what is also well known as Industry 4.0, is impacting the existing manufacturing and industrial processes multidimensionally. The Industry 4.0 has even a bigger role to help rebuild the economy following the COVID-19 pandemic. This webinar aims to understand how the amalgamation of these diverse and emerging technologies like AR, of IoT, augmented reality, virtual reality, edge computing, automation, data science, bots, cloud, etc., powered by the 5G or private networks wave, which are not only playing a critical role in streamlining these processes, but will also enhance the overall productivity. The webinar today aims to explore the roles and challenges in applications of these technologies in the current scenario. Before starting, I would take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for today. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts. I welcome Professor Subrata Mukhopadhyay, Chairperson, Consultants Network Affinity CNA Group, and former Chairperson IEEE Delhi Section. I also welcome Sri Ajay Thakare, Computer Society of India, Professor A.K. Saini, Chairman, Vice President, CSI and IETE, and Dean, University School of Management Studies, GGS IPU. I would now request Professor Subrata Mukhopadhyay to commence the session with his welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Ritika Vashan. Good evening to everybody, panelists, other panelists, and the audience. Now I see it has crossed 100 after a pretty long time. We have started again this series. Hope it will continue. Under a very difficult situation, what Ritika has just told. Today's topic is digital transformation, next generation factories. Of course, it is very well connected with Industry 4.0. And the basic thing is we are changing or rather transferring ourselves from automatic to autonomous system. Being a person originally from power system, and I have deviated to the control science also. In control science, we are not new with these words. We had very fundamentally itself. When there is no external force to take care, or even if it is given momentarily and taken out, system is basically an autonomous. We try to analyze the system. So with these type of things, definitely newer aspects of science and technology has come, artificial intelligence, machine language, IoT, then 5G, entire gamut of things under ICT that is making a gradual inroad and the change in the practices for the new generation manufacturing system also, you can say, or even services also definitely are affected with these things. Definitely for the, of course, at present, we should be hoping to God, I know that whether the pandemic also automatically goes out or not, autonomy should be extended from there. Of course, we have got basically a process, then inputs, so that we try to see the output is desirable in any system practically. Definitely we'll hear a lot of things from Vishal Gera of Nagara. Let me stop over here and let Ritika continue with the other speakers before we hand over to the today's distinguished lecturer.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Professor A.K. Saini, Chairman, Vice President, CSI and IETE, and Dean, University School of Management Studies, GGS IPU, to motivate us with his words.
Thank you, Dr. Ritika. I think I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much, and I welcome all the speakers and the panelists in today's webinar. My colleague from IET, Dr. Ajay Thakare, Professor Hoda, of course, the architect of the entire webinar series, Professor Mukhopadhyay, and our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Vishal Gera from Nagaro. I think we have a very good and eminent people in the panel today, and we are going to know more about how IT is basically disrupting the entire factory scenario as such. I think we all know that we are passing through a very severe pandemic. We all have seen the kind of say damage it can inflict to all of us, our near and dear ones. It is very serious time, very tough time. But I think during this tough time also we have to make sure that we all at least come out of it. And this is one way we can really say think differently and try to do something different to keep our mind away, because this also disturbs the whole mind process, the thinking process also. This is very alarming. But anyway, I think I'm sure we will definitely come out of it also. I think that the theme of the seminar, the webinar today is also quite interesting, because we're talking something in the context of Industry 4.0. And if you see in today's time, when we're talking of digital technologies disrupting the entire scenario in almost all dimensions of our daily life, it is also impacting the industry in a big way. And the companies, the advanced companies, manufacturing companies, they are implementing the new technologies again to cause this disruption, such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, data and analytics, which actually is helping them to drive growth and profitability also. And CIOs today, they need to go beyond the type of new technologies, and they need to develop new future ready strategies to manage and change change the opportunity which they are finding before them. I was just looking at one of the report of the Gartner, which said that about 36% of the CIOs of heavy manufacturing companies, they are working towards a kind of a disruption which actually is going to reduce the operating cost to a big way, and the competition actually will not be there, because that will be a secondary thing for them. I think there's a huge potential which definitely will come to know when we have the speaker, Mr. Vishal Gera, talking to us. I wish the organizers and all the participants a great time of learning, and I'm sure at the end of it we'll know more about how digital transformation, digital technologies are impacting the future factories. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Would now request Professor M.N. Huda, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI Camp, to address the participants with his inspiring words.
Good evening to one and all. Am I audible, Dr. Ritika?
Yes.
Yeah, good evening to one and all. I take this opportunity at the outset to welcome the learned speaker for today's program, Mr. Vishal Gera, whom we missed for some exigency last month, but he is finally here to share his experience with all of us on a very apt, relevant, and much awaited topic, that is digital transformation, and a more insight about in which way the future factories are going to function. I also take this opportunity to welcome my friends from different professional societies, IEEE, Professor Subrata Mukhopadhyay, the former chairperson of IEEE Delhi section and the present chairperson of IEEE Consultant Network Affinity Group, Professor A.K. Sani, my own friends from the vice president of IET and the Dean University School of Management Studies, Professor Thakre from IET, and so many of senior experts amongst audience, my friend Mr. Ajay Goel from Ultron. And last but not the least, my all participants from different parts of the country. My dear friends, this webinar series was started last year when the pandemic erupted in March 2020. The series was started in May 2020 with some break in February and March. We are continuing this series. The purpose of this series was that most of the time this pandemic put us into a kind of shell, because we remain at home, and being at shell we go into depression. So the purpose of this webinar series, that can we ensure that despite disruptions in around us, despite disruptions happening everywhere, can we continue learning? Can we ensure that dissemination of the knowledge should continue and the people are actively engaged? That was the purpose. We could have also slept idly in a very idle manner at our home, but we realized that no, for fellow professionals, we have some responsibility and we need to actively engage them in some learning process. And that's how a great poet said and expressed to this philosophy rightly that आशियाने से बढ़कर है फिक्रे चमन, आशियाना तो फिर बना लेंगे हम घर पे आइडल हो सकते थे, लेकिन हम ये लर्निंग कंटिन्यू करना चाहते हैं, इसलिए कि घर को संभालेंगे लेकिन अपने फेलो कलीग्स के लिए कुछ लर्निंग एंड डिसमिनेशन का काम भी किया जाए. सो आशियाने से बढ़कर है फिक्रे चमन, आशियाना तो फिर बना लेंगे हम, एक उम्मीद की लौ सलामत रहे, 100 दिए इस दिए से जला लेंगे हम. So we also expect that many of the participants who attend our program will get motivated and will continue similar series so that the people from across the country whom we could not approach, they will approach to them, and finally everyone should get involved into a learning process despite disruptions on this earth. My dear friend, this second wave of corona, which is becoming more deadly every coming day, is again very challenging and becoming mystery every coming day. And that's how probably a poet expressed it rightly that कुदरत तेरा रूठना भी जरूरी था, कुदरत तेरा रूठना भी जरूरी था, इंसान का घमंड टूटना भी जरूरी था, हर कोई जमीन पे खुद को खुदा समझ बैठा था, इंसान का यह भरम टूटना भी जरूरी था. And that's how all of us now have come to one conclusion, that it is only the Almighty who will help us to come out of this situation. No medicine, no vaccination, no arrangement of governments, no preparation on this earth is working, and every coming day it is becoming more deadly. And that's how yesterday only I have composed 2 couplets that वक्त नाजुक है, वक्त नाजुक है, संभल संभल कर रहिए, वक्त नाजुक है, संभल संभल कर रहिए, वक्त नाजुक है, संभल संभल कर रहिए, जब तक न हो बहुत जरूरत, घर से बाहर न निकलिए. My dear friends, very important to continue learning and still being at home. Today's topic is very important topic because of particularly the digital transformation. Every one of you, particularly those who are from the area of computer science, might be knowing that all of us are now passing through a pure digital age, which is also known as Industrial Revolution 4.0. And in this Industrial Revolution 4.0, digitization has played very important and significant role in our lives, but its importance is all more comprehended in every coming day during the present pandemic time by the people around the world. COVID-19 pandemic has led to an inevitable surge in the use of digital technologies due to the social distancing norms and nationwide lockdown. Fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, is impacting the existing manufacturing and industrial processes multidimensionally. Industry 4.0 has even a bigger role to play to rebuild the economy after this COVID-19 pandemic, which is going to be so disastrous for entire world economy. My dear friends, till Industry 3.0, technology model used to revolve around the business model, but business model more or less remained constant. However, by now, you might have witnessed my prior speakers have also hinted in that direction, that particularly in last 1 decade, that emerging software applications, which have also been termed as disruptive software applications, have disrupted decades old traditional business models, and in every walk of our life. And friend, this is not the end. It will continue to further disrupt most of the traditional business models and industries in the future as well, and that too at a much faster pace. So there is no option but to keep pace with the changing ecosystem. And we if we want to keep ourselves relevant, only the factor will be that with which pace of change we are changing ourselves, then only we will be relevant in coming days. My dear friends, in changing ecosystem of Industrial Revolution 4.0 and digitization, the bottom line will be that business models will be changing every coming day in better and better ways. More flexible business models are evolving, which will continue to evolve, having technology as the driver. And when business models will be changing, the shape of the factory will be absolutely different, to which will be claiming a digital factory. And that is the topic of discussion for today's webinar. And I'm sure that you will be, every one of us in fact, will be benefited out of this webinar, which is delivered by Mr. Vishal Gera. I'm personally thankful to Mr. Vishal and also to my friend Mr. Ajay Goel, who constantly helps me in arranging a speaker, such nice speakers from industry. Thank you so much. I would like to tell you at this moment with the quote of Bill Gates that never before in the history innovation has offered promises of so much to so many in such a short span of time. And that is the message with the help of digitization to every one of you. With this note, I would like to conclude that the entire process is to keep you engaged at home. Be safe at home, be healthy at home, don't go anywhere. And that's how I have composed two couplets yesterday, which I have just recited. That वक्त नाजुक है, वक्त नाजुक है, संभल संभल के रहिए, जब तक न हो बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत, घर से बाहर ना निकलिए. So this entire process is to keep you at home and still to keep you involved into the learning process. And what is the learning process? Learning process will only help us to come into the knowledge era, knowledge environment from an ignorance environment, to come into a light environment from the darkness. And when we have light, the power of knowledge, light is a symbol of power of knowledge. If we have the power of knowledge, then only we can fight with the challenges which are otherwise available without knowledge or in ignorance in terms of darkness. So the great poet has said that उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो, means keep power of knowledge as part of your integral part of your personality. उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो, बड़ी दूर तक रात ही रात होगी. उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो, बड़ी दूर तक रात ही रात होगी. मुश्किलें बहुत आने वाली हैं. ये पैंडेमिक टाइप सिचुएशन तो हर दिन मिस्ट्री बनती जा रही है. तो उजाले पावर ऑफ नॉलेज, पावर ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन अपने अपनी पर्सनालिटी का इंटीग्रल पार्ट बनाइए. सो उजाले अपनी आंखों में महफूज कर लो, बड़ी दूर तक रात ही रात होगी. मुसाफिर हो तुम भी, मुसाफिर है हम भी, किसी मोड़ पे फिर मुलाकात होगी. Thank you so much to all my friends who have joined this webinar from different parts of the country. One more webinar is already open for registration. You may join that. And the third webinar, which is being planned for 17th of May, that is the World Information and Telecommunication Day. We are planning that webinar. That is also on accelerating digital technologies in the challenging time. So that webinar is going to be announced in a 2-3 days time. So wait for that and then you can register and attend it. So thank you so much. Pay attention to the processes using which you will get certificate. Dr. Ritika will explain you the process. And after the webinar is over, you may log out only when you get certificate. As long as you are not getting certificate, be there. My team members will be there to help you out to ensure that you get certificate. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay vibrant, stay active, and continue learning despite disruptions. Thank you all. Dr. Ritika, over to you.
Thank you, sir. I would now welcome amongst us our expert, Vishal Gera, Head and Global Telecom Practices, Nagaro. Vishal is responsible for telecom practice and capability development at Nagaro, owing delivery of for global customers. With over 20 plus years of experience in the wireless platform, EMS, NMS, and cloud computing domains, he has been responsible for business growth by bringing new offerings and innovative solutions. He has also contributed to strategic planning, quantitative project management, and managing multiple large-scale, multi-site, and cross-cultural teams while defining product strategy and roadmap, program delivery, as well as release management. I welcome you today to this session, Vishal, and I would now request you to kindly enlighten the house.
Thank you, Dr. Ritika. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, perfect.
So first, it was great to hear you all, Subruto sir, Anil sir, Professor Huda, and the esteemed faculty and my dear friend Ajay. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share some of my learnings, and I hope I'm able to bring some difference to you. I think the very fact that we are able to talk and discuss it today is also part of digital transformation. I was thinking when I was hearing Professor and all the sirs about, the learning part, and this brought me back to my time when I was in college, that if it was at that point of time, could we have continued to learn I really can't think of. There were no mobile phones. There was no. You can't even think of this, right? So thanks to these technologies and the digital applications available today, that we are still able to learn, share, and keep ourselves safe. I think that's equally important as Professor Huda mentioned about keeping safe. So it's extremely important. Uh, Digital transformation is all about integrating the digital technologies to your all areas of your operations. It fundamentally changes the way you look at your business, manufacturing, the way you deliver value to your clients. And it's not just about bringing a cultural change in your organization, but also about it's a continuous change. So it's not that you've done it once and you can forget it. It's something which is continuous. Um, I, Vishal Gira, I am the Global Telecom Practice Lead at Nagaro. And yes, as part of my role, I add new offerings to our capability development to leading deliveries to our global clients. And yes, my area has been wireless domains, platform softwares, working on ENMS, NMS, and lately, past few years, I'm more and more focusing on the digital technologies. So it's very interesting to see how and whatever we have learned in the past, we're able to use as we move further. Now, before I go ahead and talk more about the Industry 4.0, let's spend some time to really understand how we have reached here. How this whole journey has evolved and what have been the key drivers. Now, it all started way back in 1784 when steam engine was invented. And this whole thing at that time was called mechanization. This gave a huge boost way back in 1784 because at that time, it was all about the physical power. And all of a sudden, with the invention of steam engine, we could see, yes, there's a possibility for these machines. And it all started in UK and it was spreading to Europe and US gradually. Later, almost a decade, right? We saw that the electrical energy became the key driver for Industry 2.0 because it gave a huge impetus to the way the production was done. And we could see a high productivity coming as an outcome of the machines using electrical energy. And later again, almost again a decade, some say 1950s, 1955, but roughly, yeah, let's say 90 to 100 years, whatever, came the era of digitalization. That's where we saw the computer coming up and we have these transistors and IC. And now what was happening is that this whole machines and all were getting supported with this computer. And you started seeing these automations. We started seeing that, yes, the productivity is improving, the efficiencies are improving. And that was continuing to help drive this whole journey of Industry 3.0. But now look at from 1970s, let's say, or 1960s for that matter, not even 40 years or 50 years, in 2010, that's when the whole Industry 4.0 began. So it's roughly 10 years that we are in this phase, what we call it Industry 4.0, where it is not only the computers and the machines, but we are saying the machines are completely integrated with computers. They are connected intelligently. They're able to take decisions in an autonomous manner, in an intelligent way. And yes, a lot of technologies that we hear, a lot of buzzwords with IoT, AI, ML, 3D printing, cloud, edge computing. I mean, so many of these technologies come and play a very, very important role in what we say Industry 4.0. Now it's just 10 years, right? And we are still adopting Industry 4.0, but Industry 5.0 discussions have already begun. So look at the way the whole transition and the innovation is happening. Now, does this come all easy? Is it so easy as it looks, this whole transition? And for that, maybe I would like to take you back to 23rd August 1897. So this was the time when Washington, D.C. has banned cars. This was the mode of transport at that point of time. There were these horse carts and there were people who were taking this for your communication. And this is the snippet which I got from New York Times at that time, where it was felt that the wagon would never bring their charm. Man would never love sitting in automobile because they were so much used to these horse cart rides. Not only this, there was a lot of apprehension because there's going to be loss of jobs for these guys who are driving these horse rides, coachmen, people who are making saddle, people who are making these career makers. So there's going to be job loss. So this is a change. This goes way back. There's a new thing called automobile, and they're not sure whether it's a right change, a good change for the country, or this is something which is not so good change because it's going to bring a lot of job loss to and the economy. But let's see how it goes. We all know where it went. I mean, it actually proved to be something which is an engine of growth for the rest of the country. I mean, it led to the construction of new roads across America and, of course, across world. There were a lot of jobs which are getting created because of production of oil, which has to fuel these automobiles. There was a lot of new jobs coming up in the areas of production of steel, glass, rubber, textiles because of these automobiles. And not only this, because it also gave an opportunity for Americans to live away from their work. So they could afford to drive down to their office, don't need to stay in the city limits. But at the same time, this also resulted in a lot of construction, a lot of needs of new houses and plumbing, electrical work. So something which was felt as an issue, as something as a constraint, but it actually resulted, this change resulted in a lot of new opportunity for not only 1 to 10 years, but for the rest of the century. Now, do we see something similar now? Because what we are seeing is, because Industry 4.0 is not only going to bring all good things, because yes, there will be areas which are today more of manual, but there is a strong possibility that a lot of manual routine tasks will get automated. I mean, there will be robots in the factories, in the manufacturing facilities, in enterprises, which will be able to do these jobs in a far more efficient way. And hence, we may see, yes, some of these jobs may become redundant. But at the same time, as per a study from McKinsey, the key strategic areas where we see which are going to be important for the companies would be that how they are able to scale up their operations and down in a very flexible, agile manner. Are they able to customize their products? Are they bringing resilience in their manufacturing and supply chain? And to be able to do that, it's going to be extremely important that the focus has to be on digitization, which means investing in the right talent as part of your organization strategy to see that you are focusing on digitization. So you really can't avoid it, but see how you can help make your people upskill, move to the right areas, and like what we are doing today is about learning new skills, acquiring new skills, making ourselves more aware of the changes happening in the whole world and taking a right step forward. Now, before I go and talk more about what's happening globally in this space, let me try to focus some of the principles that define Industry 4.0. One of the key areas on which the Industry 4.0 is based is all about making the information transparent. Now, there is going to be enormous amount of data which is going to get collected through various devices, sensors, machines, systems attached to the industries. So it's extremely important that not only this data is getting collected, but it's getting processed, the right KPIs are defined, it is projected well, and then the right stakeholders can get the information in a very seamless way, in a very transparent manner at any time, any device. So it's going to be extremely important. See, some of the routine things which were happening in the past where somebody had to call someone to check the latest status of the production or anything. Now it's all at the tip of your mobile applications in your phone, and you can just log in, check at any point of time what's the status, is it all fine or not. So data information transparency is going to be extremely important. And this can go to any level, right from your supplier to production facility stakeholders to your customers. The second important principle is about the whole technical assistance. So this is about, for example, if you as a worker, can you get assisted, be it in terms of your knowledge that you need while, let's say, you are working on a complex machines. Can you get an assistance because there's no one around, but now you have this capability through various XR technologies that a remote expert can guide you because you are installing a very complex machines. And think of these situations like lockdown today. You can't travel, but at the same time, thanks to these technologies and this facility available, you can still be guided and you can still use that complex machine in a very seamless way. Also, for example, some of the operations that you're doing in a site where an expert can't travel, you can use the AR devices and do it in a very, very seamless way. So technical assistance and also safe part. So a lot of times you are not sure whether doing this operation can create challenges. Now you can be more safe, make it more efficient for you. Making the whole decisions decentralized. So it's all about no one needs to walk up to a place to really see what's the state to decide something. Now, the whole intelligence is built in. It can be used in a very autonomous way to take decisions. So most of the operations, so let's say if you see there's a threat or a red alert, you can decide when to stop, where to stop, do the automatic root cause analysis, decide the next step accordingly. Or for example, if you see, yes, things are happening fine, automatically you can move to the next step. I mean, I see this coming in a variety of ways to something which we were so used to, even in the IT industry, working in a manual way, like even making your whole labs futuristic, which means you really don't need to go into the labs and just everything gets automatically configured and arranged for you, and you can just execute it all your tests remotely, digitally, in a very, very seamless way. And then to be able to bring all of these, it's extremely important that all the devices, all the sensors, systems, machines, they're all interconnected. Now, when they are interconnected, it means they're able to talk to each other, both sides, in a very, very seamless way to make sure that the right decision can be done in an autonomous way and there is an information transparency. So broadly, I would say, yes, these are the principles which are key for defining the Industry 4.0. Some of you have already highlighted these times where we are in and how important it is to be safe. And look at this. This picture just shows a typical factory site where things are being packaged. They are working, packaging, and this is all modern. I mean, everything is well laid out. But do you think this is possible in today's time? Can we sit like this so closely and still work in these environments? COVID-19 has resulted in an increased realization within businesses, enterprises, that we have to expedite, fast forward our Industry 4.0 initiative. In these times, it is a must that more and more companies survive, right? And to be able to do that, it's extremely important that they return to their operations, if not at a full scale, but at a reasonable scale as early as possible. And to be able to do that, there is a need to have a platform that can enable them to develop new offerings, make their business more and more resilient, and if not in a very short term, but at least in medium to long term. I mean, all the production companies are facing this challenge because they want their people to come to their office. At the same time, they face a challenge that if everybody comes with full strength, it's going to be highly unsafe for them. And then again, we go back to this loop where we are not able to sustain the economy. So it's extremely important that 4.0 initiatives are expedited and taken in a fast forward manner now onwards. As per a recent study, over 400 global manufacturing companies, 94% of respondents have mentioned that their Industry 4.0 initiatives have helped them retain their operations during this crisis. No wonder when you see the Amazons and Flipkarts of the world and their shares going high despite these lockdowns is because the way their business model works, the way their platform model works, is because they can sustain this pandemic and they know that, yes, their business model is not going to get impacted because of this pandemic. So wherever the automation has been brought into place where people can work in a digital environment, in a safe environment, irrespective of being physically there at a site, they see that they are much, much better to survive this crisis. Now, let me share what's going on around the world in this area. So far, I mean, we have understood that how this industry 4.0 evolved, the journey from 1.0 to 4.0. We've also learned about the key principles around 4.0. At the same time, yes, the change is never easy, right? Let's now learn what is happening around the world right now. Now, what has happened is, despite knowing all the benefits and advantages of these industry 4.0 principles, approximately 70% of the manufacturing companies globally have still implemented these initiatives, but at a proof of concept, at a prototype stage. So they have not been able to roll it out end to end in their organizations. At the same time, there are companies who have taken these operations end to end, full scale. They've been able to create value for their clients, bring new offerings for their client. Now, to quickly close this gap, to merge this gap, and to create a push to those organizations to adopt these Industry 4.0 revolution technologies, the World Economic Forum has taken an initiative which is called Global Lighthouse Network. Now, through this initiative, they are creating the companies, the manufacturing companies, who are adopting all these technologies and are seen as leaders, as a lighthouse for the rest, to see that yes, it is possible for you to adopt these technologies. And by adopting these technologies, you are able to serve your customer better. The advantages these technologies bring to you, that you are more agile, you're better than before for your customers, you're able to bring better value for your customers, your supply chain is more resilient, you're able to have a much better productivity, you're able to expedite your processes in terms of your production, you're able to do that. And not only this, that you are just focusing on productivity, but at the same time, these are done in an eco-friendly manner. So eco-sustainable is also one of the areas of focus areas for the industry 4.0. And this slide gives an overview of the global lighthouse factories globally. Now here you can see there is one, this dark blue, which is called 4-wall factory lighthouse. Now here, these are the factories where the focus is more on production. So they're more focused on improving their productivity. But at the same time, this light blue, which says end-to-end connected value chain lighthouses, are the ones where the focus is not only limited to the productivity, but it is about creating a value chain for end-to-end, keeping their customers in mind, keeping their suppliers in mind. So this is not limited to only focusing on productivity, but end-to-end is the focus for these global lighthouse factories. Let me take some examples. I've got some of these videos available on the public sites, and I feel this is something which is going to give a much better clarity in terms of the changes that some of these organizations are adopting. So this one is from Nokia, where they are using these technologies for their facility in Oulu, Finland. Just to be sure, the sound is audible, the video?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Absolutely fine.
So if you see Nokia in their factory in Finland as part of this Lighthouse initiative, so they're using private network because they see this gives them a more stable connections for their operations in the whole manufacturing. They're using indoor positioning, so they know exactly which device is kept where at any point of time without spending time and effort to locate it. Now, the next example I want to take is from the BMW Germany. where they're again using these technologies to improve their operations.
Vishal, is there audio as well? I can't hear audio in this video.
Again, here, if you notice, in a lot of these factories, you would see a lot of usage of the robots, industrial robots, cobots, drones. And again, think about wherever we are stuck today in India, where we are not able to have the desired production. I mean, had it been that we have, some of these technologies implemented, we would not have to suffer because a very few people can need to be in the physically in the factory, but a lot of things can be managed remotely in a safe digital manner. I'll continue. Taking an example from Alibaba, again, they're the global leaders when it comes to the whole warehousing and logistics. And again, look at how they are using these robots for maintaining the whole logistics, and not only the logistics, but of course, they're also using this to learn more about their customers. And again, if you remember, I was just telling about the whole concept of and the whole principle is not only about efficiency and productivity, but also how you're going to make the whole supply chain more and more resilient. So it's all about using this data. Now that you have end-to-end data, you can derive the KPIs, you know better in terms of your whole forecasting, planning, how you want to use it. This is how they are managing the whole warehouse. And these initiatives have improved their productivity by up to 60%. Just these automations have been able to improve their productivity. Something similar on the Schneider Electric in US and how they are able to. In my own experience, while working on similar initiatives, I've seen that not only it improves better visibility and clarity, a lot of efficiencies you could see, lying in the system, which can easily be plugged. Just because you could view them better, you can see those end to end in a much easy manner, and it helps a lot. By the way, I also want to talk about that we also have one from India, which is Tata Steel in Odisha. I could not find an interesting video on the same, but they have also implemented this four-wall factory and yes, try to improve on their whole supply chain and some of it. But yes, there was no video that I could have thought to post here. But I felt this is equally important for us to know and feel proud that yes, we have one such from India, Tata Steel. Okay, so far again, I think we've learned about the possible needs, the business use cases, and how these have been creating and helping the organizations and manufacturing companies globally. Maybe now we just spend some time to understand the technologies which are driving these use cases. Now, the technology pillars for the Industry 4.0. The most important because it's focusing on factories and manufacturing. So we got to see how we're going to make the whole manufacturing smart. So there's going to be a lot of focus and usage on autonomous industrial robots, integrated sensors and devices are going to be all around. Devices like 3D printing to make it's specific and making it giving your end users a more flexibility. Decentralized facilities should not be a mandate to have everything co-located. I mean, how we're going to make this whole process more and more decentralized and smart. A lot of focus is going to be on the XR technologies. XR means you have the AR, VR, all possible needs. I mean, the use cases where there could be a need for somebody to train, and you're using these features for training the whole task force, the workforce. You're also using it, again, as I mentioned before, some of the complex machines which needs to be operated under the guidance of an expert. But now, thanks to this technology, this person can virtually use the VR to guide you from end to end on how to use it correctly. Also, where you feel unsure, unsafe, again, some of these support can be given. It can also be, for example, the use cases where you're on the field and the expert needs to guide you remotely to do the things in the right way or to even get the right data from you. Going to be a lot of focus to get the whole horizontal and the vertical data integrated end to end. The data there's an enormous amount of data which is going to be getting generated. And today what is happening in a lot of places, this is all lying in pockets in an isolated manner. So this whole data needs to be integrated end to end, right from the supplies to consumer and from the management to the shop floor to be able to take the right decisions from this data. The other important pillar is going to be the need of the industrial internet. This whole network, which is there between the machines and the products, is going to be extremely important to make it more and more meaningful. This just reminds me of an example for the IoT. The whole IoT as a concept came way back in 1980s for the first time in Carnegie Mellon University, when a Coke dispenser machine was enhanced, modified, only to tell that one, if what is the inventory status, and two, if the newly filled drinks are cold enough to consume, and the machine used to communicate it through internet. And that's where the whole concept of IoT started evolving. And of course, then industries like IBM and others, Xerox started to copy, and this whole evolution of this whole IoT started. But it started through only a modified Coke dispenser machine in Carnegie Mellon. Cloud, we all hear about cloud, right? Cloud is like all public, private, edge, how it's going to come. For you to bring Industry 4.0, cloud is a very, very important part of your strategy. So you got to see that you will have data, it has to be flexible, which is going to be, which visual data you would like to keep on your private, what goes on public, and then how it can be extensible. How you can bring the extensible processing capability, you can scale in, scale out, scale down, depending upon your needs. And then, yes, it all has to happen real time. So you really want to be sure that you can control it at any time, any device, anywhere. While this whole communication is happening between systems, devices, machines, people, we got to ensure that it is extremely, extremely secure. I mean, we all keep hearing about threats and how different hackers come and then they start hacking the whole system. So we got to make sure that it is completely authenticated, authorized, and the communication which is happening between systems and products is extremely secure for it to be used in the right way by the right person. And then the data science plays a very, very important role. Now, when I say data sciences, I talk about the needs and projects like data lakes, where you are putting the data coming from structured, unstructured, from different sources, ERPs, CRMs, SCMs, a huge chunk of data coming from the machines and devices, and the processing required to be able to make sense out of it, slicing and needs of slicing and dicing. Also the needs of the whole business intelligence, where, for example, how you're going to take care of this automated dashboarding, reporting, where people do not need to depend upon an individual. Hey, I need this report, can you share it to me? And now you're waiting, you're stuck because the other person is not available, or this other person forwards this email to someone else to share this data. Now you have the systems and devices, and by the time, think about the traditional way, by the time you get this data and it took, let's say, a day, it's already obsolete. And even if you check it, it's of no use. On the contrary, now you have these applications and devices where you can check it at any point of time, take a meaningful action, or even that is done in an automated manner, and you just want to be sure that, yes, this is right. And not only the need of the big data technologies and this the business intelligence, but of course a lot of intelligence that you're going to bring to it through the usage of AI ML. In the telecom world where we operate, I mean, I see a lot of use cases where the expectation is that not only through this data science we are able to isolate a fault quickly, but we are also able to talk about how we can bring these AI ML models to predict these faults which are going to come in future, and the possible actions we can take to prevent it. And can we even do that in an automated manner? So just think of a situation where you don't even get to know that there was a problem which was about to happen, but it got forecasted on its own correctly, fixed on its own, and things continue to run on a seamless manner. Uh, a lot of focus is also on the data sciences, for example, to see the whole forecast. I mean, how the customers, what they are looking for can be predict, can be forecast. So think about it. Let's say they come, hopefully these festival seasons, and then there's going to be a need and demand coming from people. So now, because this data is available, you can do the slicing and dicing to see which age group, what they were looking for, whether they really going to need this now, will the need come again, this is something they have, do I bring something? So a lot of it can help them in the whole forecasting, planning, and the whole execution. So again, this is, I mean, I identified few important pillars, but this is not an exhaustive list. There could be many more technologies which are going to come, but at least these are the key ones which I see, which are going to be an important pillars for defining the industry 4.0. Now, we keep hearing about communication and 5G specifically these days. Now, a lot of these use cases can be achieved through 4G or LTE, and a lot of these things that we see could be done on a private network. Now, a private network can be on a 4G LTE or can be on a 5G. At the same time, 5G is creating a lot of buzz in the market. I mean, it's global. I mean, you go to South Korea, you hear it, you go to US, you hear about 5G and the new and innovative use cases coming as an outcome. Now, let's understand quickly on what 5G really brings. So 5G brings one, high speed. So there could be use cases where speed is extremely important. Yes, 5G. There are use cases which needs to be ultra reliable, low latency. Think about autonomous cars. This is not possible without 5G. Think about a surgeon in US operating a patient in Europe or India for that matter. Now that comes under the health sciences, but that cannot be achieved in the current LTU. At the same time, yes, there's a need for this massive mass IoT, again, a lot of data being pumped in and collected. So yes, 5G brings this and it goes across industries. I mean, this is something which we see common. I mean, for each industry, these are some of the common use cases or trends which are going to come. Think about even going to a stadium where 5G can enhance your whole user experience because it can judge what is the age group, sex of the person, and accordingly can customize the whole experience and the advertisements and the way it interacts with this user. Even, for example, if you're sitting in the stadium and watching the match, again, a lot of applications can be added to enhance your overall experience, sitting and watching that whole match and continuously bring a lot of improvement to variety of the existing use cases. To be able to do that, we will be using a lot of these devices like drones, for example, and you've seen in BMW how they are using drones. These AGVs, automated guided vehicles, are going to be used, or these video surveillance. Video analytics, again, is going to be a very, very important part. The use cases can go vary from, again, safe worker, connected worker, again, some of the areas where I am personally involved in some of these initiatives, where in the whole industry 4.0, how we are going to make the whole operations between a human and robots safe. So this video camera is there and they are continuously analyzing if I walk into a red zone, without safety gear. So let's say I'm not wearing a helmet or a shield or something, and I'm coming very close to the robot. Now these cameras can detect it, and this whole AI ML algorithms can process that and give a signal to the robot to stop working. And the moment I pass that red zone, the robot will again start working. So very, very interesting use cases where it's not just about connected worker in a factory, like an industry 4.0, where you get assisted by an expert, but also how to make it more and more safe in those environments. And that's where, again, a lot of video analytics has a very important role. AR, VR, again, some of very, very interesting projects that, again, we are doing where how these technologies are being used to guide a remote worker by an expert sitting remotely. So it's like you see what I see and you are doing what I'm telling you to do. So it's just that the expert is sitting physically at a place, but this guy who's sitting remotely is exactly doing what the expert wants him to do. A lot of sensors, a lot of these automations, and again, mobile apps through these smartphones. Now, all of these would be connected to, for example, the 5G radio, and which is connected to virtual RAN and the virtual core. And then eventually the whole processing and capabilities will go to various servers. Now, some of it, depending upon the use case, has to be processed on edge, like the cases I was telling about these autonomous cars, where the decision has to be done in like micro milliseconds or nanoseconds. You can't do it on the cloud, where the decision cannot go onto the cloud, and it has to be done only on the edge. And again, especially some of these use cases on the health sciences. But at the same time, yes, some of these can go to the cloud, and hence this part can be happen on, let's say, even a public cloud or a private cloud, depending upon, again, the latency needs and how much time is required. But 5G is really going to bring a lot of change, something that we have witnessed long back when we moved from 3G to 4G, right? Some of these mobile apps, right, which we could not even think of and we never felt a need for it, became so much important for us now. And again, look at it now with these apps, so many jobs become so much easy for us to do. And in the app sense, it could have been so tricky. So I see a similar use cases which are going to come, and very, very interesting use cases which are going to come once 5G gets rolled out. I will now talk a little bit on how are we enabling it. So far, I mean, I've been focusing on what's happening in these global Lighthouse network, and also about the whole technologies which are going to do it. At the same time, especially to the folks who are going to be in the real field after some time and working in the industries eventually, I want to talk about a little bit on the use cases where you are going to work. So some of these are, so these are all real use cases where we are really working, and I'm also personally involved in some of it, right? So for example, the very first one is all about a bottling company, and one of the leaders, top leaders that you can think of in this. So they had a challenge in terms of tracking of their pallets, and theft was there. They were not sure where exactly it is lying. IoT, the RFID tags were added, created an app, and eventually now they're able to get a whole end-to-end view of where exactly it is lying and how to track it. So they were able to sort this problem. This one is completely similar to what I was mentioning before about collecting data from sensors and devices across. So there was a need for one of our clients where they wanted to have a solution for their customers. So their customers are the ones who are having their factories, and it is spread across the US and even in Europe. And they were expected to manage the whole operations, which means they were responsible for the production, they were responsible for the quality part. And now think about in these times when we are not allowed to travel and there is a lockdowns globally, right? In Europe, in US. Now, how they could have managed these operations. Now, they developed this solution over cloud. It's a multi-tenant solution. Now, using this solution, they are able to collect the data from the entire factory, can see it all on the dashboard, can analyze if the production is happening fine, can take some corrections, can check the quality, all done remotely in a seamless way. And this is all deployed on an Amazon cloud. The third use case is all about the Austrian telecom operator, where the need was that they were doing this whole operations back and forth, resulting in loss of productivity, a lot of time got waste, and there was the need to fix this whole quality inspection process. So we got this whole Google Glass thing along with, and the expert sitting remotely is able to guide the connected worker, and the connected worker is doing operations as per the instructions from the expert, and no back and forth. Even if there are some issues, they both agree to it that yes, this is a problem, but at the same time, there is never a disconnect between the two. So it really improved over 60 to 70% of their productivity through this whole device, saving a lot of time and a strong improvement in the whole productivity. On the fourth one is again a very, very interesting use case for a leading global automotive OEM. And here again, they wanted to use a lot of data science to analyze the impact or a damage a car has. So think about a car which got a dent, right? Now you do not want somebody to manually go and analyze and guesstimate, okay, what's going to be the cost to fix it and the damage and so on. So they want that this is all done using computer vision, and you're able to assess the whole refurbishment, and the whole assessment can be done in a very, very automated manner. So we're planning to now roll it out on the nationwide and to see the kind of feedback it comes from the real field. And then it goes across the industry. So intentionally, I picked up the examples which are not limited to telecom, but then you can see it could be a bottling company, it could be automotive, it could be a telecom, it could be a general industry for that matter. This one is very, very interesting because here, since it's public, I can talk. We are the ecosystem partner with Nokia on their initiative, what we call Factory in a Box. So they call it FIA, Factory in a Box. So here they are thinking about future factories, where the factories can move in a container to the user. So they will be having containers which can just move over trucks and close to where the users are looking into it. And this whole operation, the whole manufacturing assembly can be happening within a container. So some of those small devices, which becomes, for example, extremely important, but keeping the economies of scale after a period of time, it doesn't benefit. So these small containers can replace, and they can do the production and assembly and can be delivered very closely to the customers rather than, bringing the customer close to the factories. So some of these are again very, very cool and very, very interesting initiatives happening globally in this space. So we've been working on again 2 applications, one making it safe for the worker, safe worker, and then connected worker again. So think about somebody who's walking into the factory for the first time and is supposed to use a machine, which let's say the person doesn't know. Now the person can wear a glass, gets guided by an application, how to operate, how to use, and continues to use it in a very, very seamless manner. The second one is a case for an oil and a gas company, where again the need was to check whether the whole facility is safe. And again, using drones, you can simply scan the whole facility, generate heat maps, see yes if there's a gas leakage. So now think about it. Not only I can do it at any point in a very seamless manner, in a more efficient manner, but at the same time, I'm making it more and more safe for my people. They really don't have to be physically there, God forbid if it's a poisonous gas, but the drone can still detect and identify that gap. Think about again a mining industry. Again, some of these technologies, including the private network, are of extremely use to know what is happening. Is your person safe or not? Because you may not have the regular connectivity. The other solutions, again, very interesting on this third one is all about, let's say, think about if an accident happens. Sometimes we don't even know what exactly had happened. Now, this whole IoT could be used to collect a lot of data right from your stereo to camera to various sensors which are fitting in the vehicle to reconstruct how exactly happened and what went wrong. And you can then see how you can make your maybe an automobile more safe, or instructions given more clearly, or whatever can be done to help your end users. The right one again is one of the use case where for a leading a bus services provider in Austria, we developed a solution using again this AR to do the whole remote inspection process in a very, very seamless way. The deficiencies are recorded. I mean, you don't even have to write. So if you speak, it's all speech to text and all done in a very seamless manner. And then the whole, feedback can be processed, in the flow, and everybody who's intended to get it can get it in a seamless way. So yes, some of the use cases, and I can clearly see that as we move from here to the real industry and the world, you will be working on these kind of projects. So this is not something which is limited to only few, but it's a real use case, and you're going to be part of it. So with this, I'll just move to the last section where I will say, let's really look at the future and what future holds for us. So again, the message is not that these Industry 4.0 or this automation or these robots is only going to take our jobs away. As we see in Industry 5.0, the robots are expected to do and handle the repetitive tasks. It's the human who is going to come again at the top, who will work closely with the robots, will guide robots, because a lot of intelligence that we as a human have in our brain, how this, especially focusing on these perception-driven decisions, is continue to bring a lot of value to this whole industry, automation and generation. So with this, maybe I end the seminar, and I'm not sure if this is the right time, Ritika ma'am, or it's a bit early, but yeah.
It's absolutely the right time, Vishal. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful presentation. The way you have explained the digital technologies and how they have been, they are affecting our production and industries, and how they can help our industry survive. I think that is wonderful. So with your permission now, I would take up a few questions from our participants as well as panelists.
Sure, sure.
Could you please give some specific example of how AR or VR is being used in smart manufacturing? Some smart use case that can help our participants get an exact idea of how things are going on.
Okay, see the VR we are using. I mean, where exactly we are working on the VR is again for the industries. One, again, let's say if somebody needs to operate a very complex machines and you are new to it, I mean, those models you can't go with the AR. So those extreme complex models, you have to go with the VR. And again, that's where 5G and some of these technologies are going to come. So one we see is that, yes, whenever it comes to in the whole manufacturing, if it's a complex machines that needs to be operated, then yes, this is an area. Second, again, I see a lot of focus when it comes to this connected worker and safe worker, where we see these AR/VR technologies are going to be extremely used. Besides this, again, if I take these technologies specifically, a lot of it is actually going to revolutionize the way we look at entertainment today. So they are going to bring a lot of new experience when it comes to this whole VR part, and 5G again has a big role to play. So yes, these technologies are here to stay. And again, HoloLens, I mean, a lot of development is going on in this. And yes, this is definitely going to happen.
Fine. Thank you. The next question that we have is, what kind of projects out of these technologies can be taken up by research scholars or students at campuses? Like, is it possible?
I definitely, yeah, this is a very interesting questions. And I was also thinking about how we can have a better engagement, because that's where I think students always love. And especially the projects which are more at the public. See, there are projects which we do which are very confidential in client IP, and I can't talk about it. But for example, something like what we're doing with Nokia, for example, or some of the clients which are more in a public space, yes, we can see if there could be areas where, for example, we are developing AI/ML algorithms and students are interested in, yes, they can be part of that learning journey and also learn and contribute. So definitely, I'll keep that in mind. That some of those projects I see which are more like public, and hence we can afford to go beyond the folks here. So definitely, I'll make a note for that.
One last question I have is Industry 4.0 and 5.0. They are the new buzzwords, but in the pandemic times, when the usage of internet and digital economy has surely reached its peak, what are the challenges in all these technologies, especially in India?
I would say in pockets, it would be in use. In pockets, like for example, some of the very, very interesting use cases that we are seeing, even in India for that matter, and being worked upon. I remember last year in the lockdown, I could see a lot of drones moving around, clicking pictures, ensuring that people are not mingling and coming closer. A similar use case, we were looking for, having these devices which can be fitted into, let's say, automobile, or it can be fitted into, let's say, like a drone, which is physically, surveying and monitoring and checking whether people are close. Think about use cases where you have these again these algorithms which can see whether people are coming too close to each other, or think about the use cases where if people are wearing sufficient gadgets, safety gadgets. Think about if you're wearing a mask, these can be detected. So these are all done and ready. So these solutions exist and can easily be customized. Like for example, something which I can detect for a safe worker, whether you're wearing a safety helmet or not, and you're coming in proximity to a robot, can easily be extended to checking that if you are wearing a mask or not in a region. Or for example, even let's say today when you go to the office and let's say you punch or use your fingerprint to detect that yes, you are allowed to enter. Now in these times, it's an extremely unsafe. Now I can simply have a video analytics camera which can check my image and see that yes, I'm a valid employee, and the gates can be automatically done. So these are some of the use cases which are already implemented, rolled out, and we are using it in some of our facilities also.
So, thank you, Vishal. It was wonderful. I would now request Professor M.N. Huda sir to kindly present Vishal with a certificate as simply as a token of remembrance for this wonderful session.
Mr. Vishal, it was a fabulous talk, and the way you have explained how digital technologies can be used and can be useful for digital factories, and particularly how can it accelerate the overall processes, not only the manufacturing, not only the economic, rather everything in the backdrop of COVID-19. Thank you so much, Mr. Vishal. This certificate is to remember that you have been part of this lovely webinar in which the participants from all parts of the country and abroad has joined. So thank you so much, Mr. Vishal. The formal vote of thanks is still awaited.
Thank you. I truly enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. I will now request Professor Ajay Thakare, IET Amravati chapter, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Vishal Gera, sir, architect of this webinar series, who has made all of us to have a great deal of technical treat, sitting at home, director at Bharati Vidyapit, New Delhi, and chairman TPPC IT New Delhi, Dr. M.N. Huda, sir. Our senior colleague and vice president at IT New Delhi, Dr. A.K. Saini, sir. Senior IEEE member and past IEEE chairman, Shri Dr. Subreto Mukhopadhyay, sir. Shri Ajayji Goel, who is again another architect behind this. Dynamic anchor and convener of this webinar series, Dr. Ritika ma'am. My senior colleague, Sri Bhatiaji from Bangalore, other distinguished panelists, and my dear techno-savvy participants who have joined for this webinar. It is rightly said that when it strikes very hard and takes away everything and anything. This is what perhaps we are all experiencing since the last almost 15 months, the corona pandemic and its strains. Someone has quoted that the only constant thing in world is change. The word this change has now perhaps called as a revolution. Many a times the revolutions takes place due to technology transformations and upgradations, just like Mr. Vishal was also talking about. To give an example, that earlier we had the CRT tube, then the square tube, then to the LCD tube TV, and then the plasma TV, and now the LED TV. And a similar kind of revolutions in the mobile communications as well. On the other side, this is a technology transformation, but on the other side, it is the human nature and attitude also not to succumb to the natural disasters, and therefore industry, when gets heavily impacted due to such causes, the human brains try to find solutions to for its sustenance as well as for the progress. So that's how it comes its way. Today, to his talk, Vishal sir has elaborated and truly justified today's topic on future industries. He has thrown the light on the global lighthouse factories with focus on the productivity, increasing the supply chain, and therefore the industrial internet acquaintance also. He has given a detailed insight right from industry 1.0 to 4.0. The industrial internet implementation, communication between the devices, systems and machines, processes, and then of course the humans. He has discussed the security role aspect also being playing equally significant role in the future industry progress. In his almost 1 hour talk, I think he has taken us on a ride to industry revolution right from 1.0 to 4.0, and he has very rightly explained the future industry 5.0 as well. I was just thinking that we are just almost sitting in the bus. He's taking us around all the industries, and I was thinking that this journey shouldn't stop today. But anyway, there is never end of that. Vishal sir will again be invited for this. And thank you, sir, on behalf of the IIT fraternity, and also considering myself as one of the Bharati Vidyapit member, attending almost all the webinars all through. I express my gratitude to Mr. Vishal Gera for his excellent deliberations today. I hope that all those present on this webinar platform today are safe at home along with their families. Please, thank you very much. Over to Dr. Ritika ma'am.
Thank you, Ajay sir. That was wonderful. I also now thank all our distinguished panelists and participants who have continuously supported us through this webinar. Thank you, Vishal, once again for this wonderful webinar. And it was wonderful having you. We hope to have you again in the future with some new experience of yours. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would again thank all our distinguished panelists and participants. Thank you, Ajay sir, to have continuously given us such a good variety of experts who have increased our knowledge so much. And the feedback link has been shared with all the participants in the chat window. So I request all my participants kindly click on the feedback link and details carefully for your certificate of participation generation. This webinar room is now converted to a call center to help all our participants with their certificate of participation generation. Please be ensured to click on the feedback link and submit your details timely, because the feedback link is only activated till 8:30 p.m. At 8:30 p.m. it gets deactivated and we shall be unable to help you. We are open. Any participants who submits the feedback form and does not receive his or her certification in their inbox within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you can share your email ID with all the panelists. We are there to help you out.